IndyCar is a very dangerous sport, and throughout its existence, it hasn't failed to prove this by brutal examples. So today, we've gathered the worst crash from every IndyCar season for the last 30 years. So buckle up. During the 1994 season, Scott Sharp was involved in a massive crash at the New Hampshire International Speedway in Loudon. On the 13th lap, Mike Groff spun exiting turn 2 and hit the outside wall, and while attempting to avoid Groff's car, Sharp spun and launched into the air after his car made contact with Groff's nose. The impact was so bad that Sharp's car flipped 1.5 times, which left him hanging upside down for nearly 2 minutes. What's amazing about this story is that Sharp left the incident without any serious injuries, but the margins between this scenario and a fatal one were extremely thin.
Now he's just gone over the launching ramp. Watch here. One complete turn of the roll bar. Maybe does not actually hit the ground. Now he's firmly on the roll bar, but you can see the driver as Groff spins down to the inside. Scott Sharp protected in that survival cell that is the IndyCar cockpit as the rest of the car breaks up. Just what you like.
This is arguably one of the worst crashes that we've seen in the history of IndyCar, and it happened during the Indianapolis 500 race. Just seconds after the green flag, Fox's car went into a narrow right manner after crossing the rumble strips on the inside of turn 1. It then slammed into the concrete wall nearly head-on and was struck by Eddie Cheever's car, which caused Fox's vehicle to break apart. Reports stated that Fox endured 60 Gs of force, and unlike Sharp, he got some serious injuries, such as subdural hematoma and closed head injury, which required immediate surgery to relieve the pressure on his brain. Luckily, he survived and was released from the hospital 10 weeks after the crash.
And we've got a car into the wall, right off of the first turn. 2 cars tangled. One of them is Eddie Cheever. The other looked to be Stan Fox. And the front end of one car cut away. The rest of the field slows.
This horrifying moment turned out to be a breaking point in Fittipaldi's career. On the second lap at the Michigan International Speedway, Fittipaldi attempted a pass on the rookie Greg Moore. This made Moore's car slide up the track, making contact with Fittipaldi's rear tyre, which caused him to spin backwards into the wall. The impact was approximated at 100 Gs, and with the fuel ignited upon impact, it was a truly horrifying thing to look at. Fittipaldi survived the crash, but he was diagnosed with a fractured 7th cervical vertebra, a partially collapsed left lung, and a fractured left shoulder blade.
Emerson Fittipaldi hits another car and veers into the wall.
During the Surfers Paradise IndyCar race in Australia 1997, Christian Fittipaldi suffered a serious and frightening accident. His Swift Ford was struck from behind by the Honda of Gilles de Ferran, which caused Fittipaldi's car to hit the concrete barrier head-on, resulting in massive damage to the vehicle. The fact that the crash happened at 170 miles per hour meant that the health of the driver was also in question, but Christian managed to survive it, escaping with multiple fractures to his right leg, including a broken shin bone. The severity of the crash led to a delay of the race, because the debris all around the track posed a serious threat for the other drivers, and regarding Fittipaldi, he was unable to race for the next 7 races.
Let's just have a look and see. Well, the race has been stopped, and there, my word, he really hit that wall at an angle, didn't he? Well, a very direct hit on the wall. And there was obviously contact between him and another car before they even got to that
it looks
stage.
like it's Gilles and Christian have touched wheels and have just sent each other into the wall, and obviously Christian's come off a lot worse. That second impact there was probably the one that's done the damage.
Michael Andretti suffered a wild crash during the kart series at the 1998 Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. The crash occurred at the 58th lap of the race, as PJ Jones ran over debris from JJ Lehto's car, making him lose control. At this point, Andretti was trying to complete a pass on Jones, but unfortunately he made contact, which sent his car into a huge barrel roll at 190 miles per hour. The car landed in the sand trap, heavily damaged, but even though it looked horrifying, Andretti managed to escape it unharmed.
Andretti from his camera. Okay, through the kink on the back straightaway, 2 cars in front of him, slips inside, he taps PJ, trying to pass him, look at that, and he lands upside down on the track, rolling again, tumbling, look at that. What a ride through that, oh!
This is another memorable crash from the kart series, as on the 114th lap during the Motorola 300 race at Gateway International Raceway in Madison, Carpentier made contact with Brian Herter. This led to a spin of Carpentier's car and a severe impact with the wall. Luckily for Carpentier and the fans of the sport, it ended here. Patrick was able to leave the car unharmed, and the greatest worry for him was that he was unable to finish the race.
I think Brian got squeezed from the two cars going past him. He backed off. And what happened is that they just made wheel-to-wheel contact. Carpentier hard on the brakes as Brian Herta got out of the throttle there. No place to go, and they're into the fence.
Unfortunately for Carpentier, 1999 wasn't the only year he suffered a huge crash. During the 2000 version of the kart series, when the caravan visited Laguna Seca, Carpentier approached turn 4 in qualifying and attempted a pass on Kenny Brack. While doing so, two of his wheels left the tarmac, causing him to lose control, and when trying to bring the balance back, his car completely lost control and launched into the air after hitting the lip. Patrick landed upside down inside the catchment area, and even though the car cleared the tyre barrier and fence, he emerged unscathed, only with a sore neck and back. Tough guy he is.
On Friday afternoon in first qualifying, looking at Patrick Carpentier, he went off at turn number 4, the car hit the gravel track backwards, took off slightly, hit the tyres, and look at this, it vaulted clean over that catch fencing, an amazing accident.
During the American Memorial 500 at the Lausitzring in Germany, Zanardi exited the pit and lost control of his car on cold tyres with 12 laps remaining. This spun him into the infield grass, which was not that serious, but once he re-entered the track, his car was struck at approximately 200 miles per hour by Alex Tagliani. The impact tore Zanardi's car in half and he suffered some serious injuries. Remarkably, he went on to live after 3 days in a coma, but still, this crash serves as a brutal reminder of how dangerous this sport is.
Brack picks up the lead. Oh, and Zanardi, with a terrible crash. Zanardi coming out in turn 1, loses control of the car. The rest of the field, look at him slow down. There's debris all over that racetrack.
The Surfers Paradise has another crash for us. During the 2002 version, the race began under heavy rain, leading to minimal visibility and slippery conditions. On the opening lap, a 9-car crash was induced when Adrian Fernandez slowed on the pit straight and was hit in the rear by Jimmy Vasser. This triggered a chain reaction involving Andretti, Tagliani, Takagi, Carpentier, and more. The cars of Takagi and Vasser were overturned, which brought the red flag and a 90-minute delay to the race. Then, a shortening of the race happened. From the planned 70, only 50 laps were driven on a tarmac that remained wet. Luckily, no one was harmed in the crash, but it remains as one of the most controversial moments in IndyCar history.
I believe, there's a huge shunt. A huge shunt. Fernandez is involved. We've got cars ripped apart here, and that's entirely predictable. There was conjecture before the start as to whether they'd run single or double file. They went back to the standard and conventional starting process. Takagi's in there, one of the players' Forsyth cars, red flag.
During the Texas Motor Speedway in 2003, Kenny Brack endured a monster crash on the 188th lap of the race. He tried to pass Thomas Scheckter near turn 3 while driving approximately 220 miles per hour. The cars made contact, and it sent Brack's car airborne, leading to a hit with the steel catch fence at the top of the 39-inch concrete wall, tearing a hole in the barrier. Brack thankfully managed to continue racing after what easily could have been a fatal crash.
We've got a problem. Kenny Brack in turn number 3. It looks like Scheckter and Brack. A very hard hit in turn number 3.
Now, one of the cars got airborne and it slammed upside down. It's a nasty, nasty crash at the exit of the back straightaway.
It was a big list of broken things. I broke the sternum, shattered the back. I broke my femur a couple of places, crushed my ankles.
The winner of the 2004 edition of the Indianapolis 500 was involved in a very hectic crash at Chicagoland Speedway. While being fifth, Rice was struck from behind by Darren Manning, which flipped his vehicle upside down and made it slide along the track before coming to a stop. Even though the crash seemed brutal, Rice managed to get away from it quite safely and made sure to send proper gestures towards the safety crew to indicate his well-being.
Well, look at this. He is right in the middle of this thing and barely misses him as he's going in the air.
Almost drove under him.
Yeah.
As he launched that car in the air off of Manning.
Hey, when it's your year, It's your year.
In the 2005 edition at the Chicagoland Speedway, Ryan Briscoe made contact with Alex Barron's car on the 19th lap of the race. This put him in an airborne state, and the car struck the retaining fence above the safer barrier, igniting in flames. Briscoe's car was shattered into multiple pieces, but thankfully Ryan was listed in good condition after being airlifted to Advocate Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn, Illinois, and he was able to return to racing after 8 weeks.
Actually, you can see on the very underside what a ride that was. Remember we had last year with Buddy Rice getting airborne coming out of turn 2 when they touched wheels, and here's the situation. Briscoe going underneath, Barron trying to come down on the racetrack. They both are going for the same piece of real estate.
This is one of the most dramatic and chaotic accidents in the history of motorsport, let alone the IndyCar 500. During the 12th round of the Champ Car World Series at Road America, Legg was running 6, and as she approached the turn 11 kink, a sudden failure of the rear wing caused a massive loss of downforce. The car snapped sideways and crashed into the wall, with the car being launched into a series of violent barrel rolls along the catch fence. It would be a miracle to escape from this incident unharmed, and that miracle happened to Catherine. She managed to get away with a bruising to her knees only, admitting that she was conscious throughout the entirety of the crash.
Oh, huge crash. Oh, huge crash. Oh, no. Huge incident. Huge incident. It's Catherine. Is it Catherine Legg's car? The PKV car number 20.
On the 145th lap of 2007's Firestone Indy 400 at Michigan International Speedway, Franchetti was racing wheel-to-wheel with Dan Weldon down the back straight. At this point, Weldon's right front tyre made contact with Franchetti's left rear, which sent Dario's car airborne and flipping it multiple times before it landed upside down. A massive pile-up followed, with drivers like Sam Hornish Jr., Ed Carpenter and Thomas Scheckter, but the driver who was most affected was Franchetti. Fortunately for him, he was seen moving and gesturing his safety towards the safety crew, saying, "I'm just bloody thankful I'm in one piece."
His car, he could end up having the car land right inside the cockpit.
Also, watch Scott Dixon. He almost had the same situation. Watch the 9 car come in here.
Up and over.
See right there. I mean,
absolutely. Actually, it's the 22 of AJ Foyt, not Thomas Scheckter, excuse me.
Not every accident happens during racing. Throughout the practice session of the 2008 Indianapolis 500, Giebler lost control of his Panos chassis in turn 2, where speeds exceed 220 miles per hour. The car hit the wall, resulting in extensive damage and loss of control, which then escalated with a high-impact crash. The telemetry data showed a force of around 110 Gs affecting the driver, and Giebler was diagnosed with pulmonary contusions and a cervical sprain. Despite the severity of the crash, he was alert and conscious after the event, but the vehicle was completely destroyed. Another huge practice session crash happened only 1 year later at the Sonoma Raceway, then known as Infion Raceway. Nelson Philippe spun and parked his car at the blind corner at turn 3A. EJ Viso was the first one to make contact with Philippe's car, but it wasn't nearly as dangerous as what Will Power experienced. Due to the poor visibility because of the blind nature of the corner, Power collided heavily with Philippe's car, leaving both of the drivers unconscious at the scene. Will suffered 2 fractured vertebrae and a concussion, while Philippe suffered a concussion and a fractured left foot. As a result of this heavy crash, both of them missed the remainder of the 2009 season, but managed to continue racing further down the line.
Nelson is watching as well. Nelson, you might want to look away for this one. EJ Viso wasn't using all the track, but look at that. Full throttle up over the top of the hill. The yellow lights, the yellow flag was out, but he was already committed. Look at that damage. The 2010 Indy 500 will always be remembered for its last lap because of the fight that happened between Ryan Hunter-Reay and Conway. Because of the low fuel, Hunter-Reay's car started to sputter, and with Conway traveling at 220 miles per hour through the short chute between turns 3 and 4, he collided with the back of Ryan's car. The impact sent Conway's car airborne, sending it to the catch fence and causing the vehicle to split into 2 pieces. The driver's seat was intact and Conway was alert following the crash, but he did sustain multiple fractures in his lower left leg and a compression fracture in his back.
Wow, horrifying accident. Look at the car going in the air.
Mike Conway getting underneath Ryan Hunter-Reay into the catch fence and the north end. Wow.
During the 2011 Baltimore GP, a massive incident occurred before turn 1. As the drivers approached this corner, Kanaan experienced a brake failure and was unable to slow down, colliding with the rear end of Castro Neves. This saw Kanaan's car launch into the air and over the top of Castro Neves' vehicle before crashing into the tyre barriers and concrete wall. Luckily, both of the drivers were able to get away safely, but the footage from the crash makes you wonder how much courage these drivers have.
It looked like a scene out of the Dukes of Hazzard. The car flew over and then Davey landed on all fours. And you're right, something broke.
You know, I almost had to. Now, here's what happened. That back to turn 1 a little bit. It was so rough right there. Now, Elio did lock his brakes up. He went to the right side to avoid some bumps.
Right.
Throughout the 82nd lap of the 2012 Indianapolis 500, Mike Conway and Will Power had a terrible accident. It was right after Conway returned to the track after a pit stop that he struck one of his crew members, resulting in front wing damage. Conway rejoined the race, but with a compromised wing, he wasn't able to hold on for so long, spinning in front of Power, who was then unable to avoid the damage. The collision launched Power's car into the air where it struck the catch fence before landing back onto the track. Luckily for them, both went unharmed. During the final lap of the Grand Prix of Houston, Dario Franchitti had the last crash of his career. His car was struck by Takumo Sato, becoming airborne and colliding with the protective fencing. The impact made the car spin multiple times against the fans, which ultimately injured 13 spectators and a race official. Franchitti sustained a concussion and fractures to his spine and right ankle and underwent 2 surgeries on his ankle. Doctors advised against returning to racing due to all the risks involved, and this led to his official announcement on the 14th of November that same year.
Sato, oh boy, look at the debris go through, oh boy, and fencing. Yeah, it does look like there might be some debris into the grandstands as well. That is a violent.
During the final practice session for the MAV TV 500 at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, Alosian veered below the white line at turn 3 and lost control of the car. This turned into him returning to the racing line and colliding with Charlie Kimball, who was travelling at full speed. Alosian's car became airborne, tore through the fence above the safer barrier and spun violently before it was brought back to the track.
I saw that 2 years ago in turn number 2. Ideally, I think you'd like to be low, in particular going into... Oh, we have a huge crash here on the track right now. It looks like Mikhail Alosian. I'll have to look up who it is. I saw Alosian.
This crash occurred at a speed of 220 miles per hour during the final practice session of the IndyCar's 2015 version. Hinchcliffe's car lost control when his front right suspension failed, crashing headfirst into the turn 3 wall. A piece of James's car pierced his left thigh, severing an artery and leading to massive blood loss. And despite the severity of his injuries, Hinchcliffe was able to make a remarkably swift recovery. He continued to race just 4 months after the crash, securing a pole position for the 100th running of the Indianapolis in 2016.
Center Oakville, Ontario's James Hinchcliffe was taken to hospital and underwent emergency surgery on his upper left thigh following a crash during an Indianapolis 500 practice run today. Hinchcliffe had just posted a lap speed of 221 miles per hour when an apparent failure to his front right suspension sent him slamming into the wall.
During the 2016 season at Texas Motor Speedway, a horrifying crash happened between Connor Daly and Josef Newgarden. It happened on the 42nd lap when Daly lost control of his car at turn 4, sliding up the track and colliding with Newgarden, who was attempting an outside pass. A fire ignited in Newgarden's car because of the impact, causing a puncture in the energy-absorbent barrier, and Josef was the one who suffered a fractured right clavicle and a small fracture on his right hand. Daly emerged from the crash unscathed, but still managed to acknowledge responsibility for the incident, which he wrote off to the loss of grip.
Take a look. Up at the top of your screen, Connor got loose. Oh! Connor just got loose, corrected, and went up into the track into Josef, and now Joseph's upside down, and the front spins around, and Connor's car pushing it right into the wall.
One of the wildest crashes ever happened at the 2017 Indianapolis venue between Scott Dixon and Jay Howard on the 54th lap of the race. Howard was lapped at this point and attempted to let Hunter-Reay pass, but Ryan Hunter-Reay went on to move and caused him to lose control. Dixon had no time to react to this sequence and ended up hitting Howard's car, sending himself airborne and into the wall.
Awful crash. Jay Howard hits the wall first, Scott Dixon with no place to go. Was it Castroneves that went under Dixon?
It does, and he runs over some debris.
Oh, man. He's so lucky. So lucky.
The 2018 Pocono edition was something to watch, especially the first lap of the race. Wickens tried to pass Ryan Hunter-Reay and made slight contact that turned fatal for both of their races. Hunter-Reay's car spun, and Wickens' one became airborne, launching itself over Ryan's vehicle and into the catch fence. Some serious injuries were sustained by Wickens, but he returned to racing 3 years later at the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in 2022.
Wickens, that's going to be tight through there. Early touch, oh my God.
Oh! That's Robert Wickens! And his teammate is into him as well, James Hinchcliffe. That was ugly.
A massive sequence appeared at the 2019 version of Pocono's Raceway when Takuma Sato attempted to pass Alexander Rossi on the outside at turn 2. This resulted in contact, causing Rossi to collide with Ryan Hunter-Reay, which then led to an irreversible sequence, followed by James Hinchcliffe and Felix Rosenqvist being caught up as well. Rosenqvist's car was sent airborne into the catch fence, and although all of the drivers were able to get away safely, the dissatisfaction from Rossi, Ryan Hunter-Reay and Hinchcliffe was voiced after this incident.
Hunter-Reay on board. Passing his teammate here, so he's on the inside clear of him. Then watch Sato he tries to shoot that gap, and it was not there.
Not
so
on at all.
This incident led to the race being concluded under caution, as on the 194th lap, Pigot's car lost traction exiting turn 4, causing it to spin more than 180 degrees. The front left wheel made contact with the outside wall, and the secondary impact sent the car back across the track into the attenuator at the end of the pit wall. Fortunately, further collisions were avoided, and Pigot was released safely after undergoing tests and x-rays later that day.
Full stop. Listen here.
The 2021 version of the Chevrolet Detroit GP saw Felix Rosenqvist entering turn 6 with massive acceleration, likely due to a stuck throttle. Unable to slow the car, Felix collided nose first into the barrier with a force that displaced the concrete wall behind the tyres, and some of them saw themselves being thrown over the catch fencing. The impact was so heavy that the car parked itself at a 45-degree angle, making the extraction process even harder. Luckily, Rosenqvist was aware and conscious throughout the entirety of this process.
It's right on board.
It sounded like the throttle stuck. Holy cow.
This was a very bizarre incident because it happened while Herta was trying to fine-tune his car as he was entering turn 1 at a huge speed. The rear of his car became unsettled, and then he lost full control of it, making contact with the outside wall while doing so. The car then went into full airborne mode, and it skidded down the short chute towards turn 2 before fully stopping. Herta was fully aware during the entire process and was advised by his father Brian, who served as his race strategist, to stay until the emergency crews arrived.
What happened here? It just loosened up with him. Whoa, whoa.
Oh, he almost got it. Wow, went up and over. Front end just got a little bit up in the air. The wind caught it.
Another high-speed crash. While running at 180 miles per hour, Pagenaud suffered a complete brake failure at the end of the back straight while approaching turn 4. With him not being able to slow the car down, he saw it being launched over the gravel runoff area and barrel rolling 6.5 times before striking the tyre barrier and landing on its side. Despite the violent nature of the crash, Pagenaud exited his car thanks to the assistance of the AMR safety team, which goes to show how much safety has progressed through IndyCar 500 over the years.
Oh! Wow.
This race will always be remembered by its last lap incident, one that saw Alexander Rossi experience a fuel issue and slow down significantly on the backstretch. Rob was closing in rapidly on him, but when trying to get past, he made contact that saw his car being launched into the air and rolled twice before landing upside down and skidding to a halt. The incident then expanded to Ed Carpenter and Carl Kirkwood, with Carpenter's car ending up on top of Kirkwood's, obstructing his exit from the vehicle. The race ended under caution, and all of the drivers managed to get out of it safe and sound.
Got one in line here. Yeah, right, bud. What the
So, there you have it, the 30 wildest crashes from the past 30 years of IndyCar. Let us know which one you thought was the worst, and make sure to like and subscribe for more videos just like this.